Welcome back. Kelly Stewart joined now by David Brown, and it is time for the NSIC Stock Watch.
We have fancy graphics
We
here.
love it. Every week, David Brown will recap the NSIC football week that was and tell you the good investments, the bad investments, market trends, all of that. And I love this because my dad's a stockbroker. So anyway.
For your needs, of course.
I know, this is awesome. So David, we'll start with an easy one. Who are you buying?
Believe it or not, I'm going to buy the University of Mary. Yes, that's right. I want you to buy stock in a team that lost their first game of the season this weekend. And the reason for that is the Marauders look better than they have at any point, honestly, in the last 4 years. They were competitive, they were aggressive, and they held one of the best offensive teams in the NSIC last year in St. Cloud State, shut out at home through the first 2.5 quarters. Now, granted, they did give up the game-winning touchdown with a little more than a minute to go in the ball game, but they held the Huskies to just 14 points. That's the fewest Mary has given up to a non-Minnesota Crookston opponent in 4 years. I said before the season they're going to be a lot better than most people think. That performance on the road, you kind of hate to say the phrase moral victory. I'm sure you hated that phrase moral victory when you were playing, but that's kind of a game that you can take from and use down the line. I would buy Mary. They're going to be a lot better, especially this next week against Bemidji State. Craig Bagnell going up against his old team that he used to coach for last year.
Well, you sold me. I'd invest there in the
Good.
Marauders. But on the opposite side, who are you selling?
Well, for right now, I'm going to sell Upper Iowa. The Peacocks led Augustana 24-0 in the first quarter, and they still found a way to lose. That's really, really hard to do, especially considering Upper Iowa, they led the conference in pass defense last season. They gave up the fewest passing yards in the entire conference. All the credit in the world to Augustana. They didn't get down on themselves. They found a way to win. But if you're Upper Iowa, you have to put the clamps down. The series of misfortunes by Augie that allowed Upper Iowa to get that big lead are the same misfortunes that allowed the Vikings to get back into the game against Upper Iowa. Turnovers, missed opportunities by the Peacocks, and the savvy of Augustana quarterback Kyle Sadler gave the Vikings a chance, and they took full advantage of it to win 48-45. Upper Iowa needs to regroup in a hurry. Losing a 24-0 lead at home opening week, that's not something that you can easily bounce back from.
No moral victory. Anyway,
no, not for them.
So for all you investors out there, what is a stock that people might be feeling a bit nervous about, but they should hold on?
No one needs to hit the panic button on Sioux Falls. I understand they needed a miracle play in the final seconds at home to get a win over a 2-9 team from last season in Concordia St. Paul. But a win is a win, and I think there was ever a wake-up call, that was it. You simply can't assume these teams are going to be similar to last season. You just can't. Every season there's always that team or two that's a lot better than most people think. That very well could be Concordia St. Paul this season, but Sioux Falls now recognizes that, and that's going to come in handy, especially this week. They have a big Week 2 test at Winona State, a fellow playoff team from last season, on Saturday. So I think the Cougars are going to be just fine. They need to figure out the quarterback situation. Are you going to stick with Mitch Martin, who got benched at halftime of his first career start? Or are you going to go with junior college transfer Caden Walters, who led the comeback in this touchdown right here in the final seconds? The bright spot for Sioux Falls was running back Gabe Watts. It looked like a machine. 200 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns. Hold on to Sioux Falls. They're still going to be an elite team in this league, despite not looking 100% in Week 1.
All right, I believe in the coup. They got to win, so I mean that's all that counts. You got to move on.
That's very true.
But looking at the market trends across the Northern Sun, what's the biggest trend you saw in Week 1?
Well, obviously, it's only been 1 week, and as cliche as it is, running the ball is part of the winning formula. We've seen great quarterbacks come and go in this conference, but having a solid ground game will produce a winner. 6 of the 8 victors in the NSIC this past week ran for more than 200 yards as a team, led by Minnesota Duluth with 384 on the ground, and Augustana was close to 200 at 189. So essentially, 7 of the 8 teams who won this past weekend had at least 200 rushing yards. Now, there aren't a whole lot of bell cow running backs nowadays. Teams usually split time between 2 and 3 different guys, but over the next few weeks, you're going to start to see which running backs are relied on a little bit more. Either way, running the ball was the big market trend, and that was the key to victory for all the victors, or at least most of the victors, in Week 1.
All right, keep it on the ground. Well, if you are interested in checking out how your investments are doing, we have a live game tomorrow night, David.
Absolutely. Minot State at Northern State. Couple of teams looking to bounce back from opening week losses. This same matchup on Thursday Night Football was a 1-possession game last year. Look for it to be the same this year. Another close, tight contest. 7 o'clock tomorrow night, right here on Midco Sports Network from Aberdeen.
Right, love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, coming up after the break, we are staying on the football field, but moving to the prep scene. Jody and Jandy hand out the game ball for the week in North and South Dakota. Find out who impressed them the most. Stay with us.